Abend, meinen Damen and Herren. Bonjour tout le monde. Rickenbacker, ickenbacker, push. Yes, I speak many different languages. Useful when going abroad, but I find I can usually get by with English. Oh yeah, but it's not just English that unites the countries of Europe. No, it's music. So fill your alpenhorn with Stilton, wrap your camembert in vine leaves, punch a bull in the face, and come with me, for we're Eurovision bound.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
It's now time for a certain amount of light entertainment with music.
Yes, tonight we celebrate 45 years of Eurovision, a contest which has seen Austrians go arse about face like their politicians and people from Belgium do dreadful things in their purple flares. It's a celebration of the good, the bad, and, well, you get the picture.
I will not hear a word against the Eurovision Song Contest.
Katie. Still, stop sniggering at the back. You try writing a song to enchant a continent.
Will we do the lyrics first, or will we do the music?
Let's do the lyrics, and then we can fit the tune around it.
Right, here we go.
It is the best entertainment, isn't it? Even though the quality is poor of the songs and so forth, but still it does have something which makes it, you know, in most countries, one of the biggest programs of the year.
600 million people are looking at you. It's quite something to take on board.
Where are we? Rock bottom tragedy. We got 'em every day. What do we rub it out?
Yes, we British have always played our part in the horror that is Eurovision. We may not want their food or their currency, but this proud nation has always embraced a festival that for half a century has brought nation unto nation like demented, inbred brothers and sisters of so-called song.
It is something which actually was conceived to foster peace.
Here are the results of the Austrian jury. Germany, 1 point.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Germany, 1 point.
They'll probably invade Austria now next week.
A little love, a little giving to fill the dream.
Would that the Germans only won this European Championship. And sadly, the country that sent a band called Genghis Khan to compete in Israel haven't qualified for tonight's top 10. Well, I say sadly, for once our Teutonic chums haven't racked up enough points and they've paid the penalty. Ha! Other notable absentees are the Italians. They may have come up with this Eurovision classic, but this is a nation who twice refused to compete in the competition because they thought it was rubbish. In this show, there's nil points for snooty signors. Instead, we've divided points by appearances, awarded win bonuses, and come up with the definitive top 10 nations in Eurovision history. Yes, it's that exciting. And there's shock and horror for some of the business-called show's brightest stars. Who was the continental crooning love machine, the Titanic diva, and the really great actress, Honest, who graced the Eurovision stage in a state that today, frankly, beggars belief? Tonight, we tell all. French politicians have called it a monument to drivel, and they may be right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Eurovision.
It's a triumph of bad taste, bad music, schlock and kitsch. And it's what makes it wonderful for us. What makes it wonderful for the Europeans is they think it's a song contest.
We start with a nation that remained neutral during the war. And I know what you're thinking. How can a country stand by and watch an evil dictatorship overrun its neighbours? Well, think of the gold. It's snowy, and goats are revered as having special powers. So, share with me now a Toblerone or two of Swiss pop nougat.
In Italy, for 30 years under the Borgias, they had warfare, terror, murder, and bloodshed, but they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace, and what did that produce? The cuckoo clock.
Hi, I'm Peter Reber. I'm from Switzerland. Actually, it was Switzerland who won the first Eurovision Song Contest.
Refrain couleur du ciel, parfum de mes 20 ans, jardin plein de soleil, où je courais enfant. I was the only Swiss entertainer, singer, possible to defend the country.
Lucky then that it's always been neutral.
I had the best orchestra, the best, really best song, the best lyrics, of course, yes. I was very happy with that.
But despite her inaugural triumph, Swiss Miss Liss's follow-up efforts in 57 and 58 went unappreciated. And after that, Switzerland's fortunes went sharply downhill. As far downhill as you can get. But waiting in the wings were Peter's friends.
I saw these two guys singing there. I told them, why don't we join up and make a trio like Peter, Paul, Mary, let's become Peter, Sue and Mark. And that's how it all started.
And with their thought-provoking lyrics, they were bound to be onto a good thing.
Peter, Sue, Hund, Mark. Instead of und, you add an H, and then you have Hund, which in German means dog.
Alas, they only came 12th. But as the old saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
I realized it was a great chance to be, to sing in front of an audience of 500 million people without having to pay the cost of a marketing campaign.
And sometimes you can see him on the sidewalk with little boys and girls around his feet. When Jumbo Jumbo plays his barrel organ, children call it circus in the streets.
In '77, I wrote a song for a group, the Pepe Lienhardt Band, called Swiss Lady.
Sie ist meine Swiss Lady und ich ein Mann aus den Bergen. Und wer sie einmal gehört hat.
Obviously, Spit the Dog was unavailable that night.
And I introduced the Alphorn into pop music. Some people who are purists, they hated it because they said you can't do that with Swiss folk music. But I think music is fun. Everything is allowed. In '79 in Jerusalem, that was a fabulous thing because I joined up with 3 musicians, Puri Korps and Kniri, which made trash music with, water, garden hoses, with bottle openers, plastic bags, trash bags. And when we arrived in Israel, the security people wouldn't believe these were instruments. People didn't like it too much because they were thinking we were making fun of the Eurovision Song Contest. Maybe we did.
But even the combined might of Peter's pen and the entire stock of B&Q Geneva still wasn't enough, and it was to be 9 more years before the Swiss would lift the coveted prize a second time.
I have a vague recollection of a French-Canadian girl singing for Switzerland. but she doesn't look anything like the Celine Dion that we know and love now.
Donnez-moi ma chance. Emmenez-moi loin d'ici. Ne partez pas sans moi. Laissez-moi.
I mean, for a start, Celine Dion we know and love now is a handsome woman. That's not the way I remember her from the Eurovision, but times change.
They certainly do.
Once more, you
This is Celine Dion. A wonderful chanteuse. Congratulations. And Miss Nella Martinetti. This is our...
The fact that Celine's triumph was their last hasn't dented their national pride or their enthusiasm.
There are many people who enjoy it, and to many people it's a nuisance and annoyance, and that's the perfect combination.
So that's Switzerland doing the fondue that they do so well. 43 appearances, winners twice, 65 points.
Imagine a country where flamenco is not a big pink bird, but a dance. Where if you're a bull, you're liable to get a smack in the face, and where the lisp is an essential part of the lingo. It's Michael Portillo's old constituency.
Long ago, in the heart of Franco's Spain, lived a young girl with a big name.
Me llamo María de los Ángeles Santa María Espinosa.
And a slightly smaller dream.
I want to go to Eurovision contest, and I promise you I win.
Le canto a mi madre que dio vida a mi ser.
She was right, you know.
Le canto a la tierra que me ha visto crecer.
Maciel was a last-minute substitute, replacing a cantankerous Catalan who refused to sing in Spanish. Franco was having none of it.
La 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 la, and it's always something remember to a classic music.
Though presumably la 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 in Catalan would sound very much the same. The competition was stiff.
Congratulations.
Cliff Richard, he's a very good person and very good performer.
But Maciel finished first, Grand Prix numero uno for Spain. And so to Madrid in 1969. They didn't do colour in those days. The hot favourite was Salome, cunningly disguised as a transvestite chinchilla. Astonishingly, Spain won again. But so did the UK, and Holland, and France. A four-way tie, but that's the luck of the draw. Let's move forward now in our musical journey to 1970. Brace yourselves. See, Julio was no Fulio when he spent the rest of his career trying to forget that this ever happened. Ask yourselves, would all the girls he's loved before have been quite so eager if they'd seen his turquoise flares?
As a Eurovision entry, I simply don't remember him. I had the privilege of interviewing him a couple of times, and without doubt one of the greatest Egypts I've ever talked to in my life.
In subsequent years, the songs improved, but the outfits didn't. There were giant moths, sprouting ties, shocking pink and stripy jumpers.
Amaya llevaba camisa blanca, falda verde y la chaqueta era morada, creo, o algo así, ¿no? ¿Cómo era? Pues no yo no me acuerdo. Y luego una flor aquí.
No recuerdo. Yo solo me acuerdo de mí, que estaba horrible.
A mí los chicos me...
Algo así como el agua de mi fuente. Algo así eres tú.
Eres 2 came second, but it did become a worldwide hit. And guess who it beat?
Congratulations. Y él me hizo...
No, Power.
No, Power. Power to all of friends, yeah.
Three guesses where Cliff won't be going on his holidays. Not much more to say about Spain. It's got some lovely beaches, some stunning architecture. Oh, and there was this.
Here they come for Spain. Song number 1. Azúcar Moreno, Bandido. When you're ready. I don't like it. It's going too smoothly. Listen, will I hum you the first couple of bars while we're waiting here?
In 90s Eurovision, it's live vocals and a pre-recorded backing track, unless you forget to press play, that is. And then come in at the wrong place. So they don't play live then? Well, most of them don't. Go on, son. Ole y viva España. 39 appearances, winners twice, 66 points.
Well, dancing and Eurovision go together like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, like cheese and pineapple, like the bottom half of Michael Flatley with the top half. So roll back the carpet. Are you asking? 'Cause we're dancing.
You put your left foot in, your left foot out. In the late 70s, a new dance craze swept Spain. It was called the Mints. German, obviously. Tragically, Finland's go was just after they'd varnished the floor. Gladiators is a lot more low-key in Austria. Behind you.
Well, here's your chance to put up your trestle table and organise your smorgasbord. For after the break, we head for Scandinavia and ask the question, was Grieg the only Norwegian who could pen a tune and win a prize? Stay tuned for more postcards from the continent of song. Norway. Bracing, eh? All right, Mrs. Munch? Yeah, if the wind changes, your face will stay that way. Music rings through these fjords, glaciers and wooded glades like the bell under a reindeer's chin. Can this really be the land of nil point? Let you, the audience, be judge and jury.
Poor old Norway, 0 points. Although, of course, sometimes 0 points seems quite generous. You'd have thought someone would have gone for the sympathy vote. But there were some good times too, and the odd point. Well, 2.
Siste bussen hjem.
Oh dear. Henry Gibson, Henning Berg, Torre Andre Flo, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, are you listening? Your boys took one hell of a beating.
Chocolates? No, a relatively small island in the heart of the Mediterranean. Riddle me ree, how do you make a Maltese cross? Well, you'll need a mould, some molten metal, but really you shouldn't be doing this sort of thing unless you've had previous experience making similar trinkets under supervision. The other way, of course, is to mention Eurovision to the Maltese. That should get them pretty cross.
Now you may ask yourself, what on earth are Malta doing in this programme? That very same thought went through Joe Greck's mind when, in 1971, he became the first Malteser to appear in the sweet jar that is Eurovision. He came last. Another way to make a Maltese cross. They're not exactly at the cutting edge of Europop. They've only taken part 12 times, they've come bottom twice, but you can't argue with the facts. Rules is rules. They've got the points, so here they are.
They say our love won't pay the rent before it's earned our money.
America had Sonny and Cher. Malta had Helen and Joseph, except they weren't married.
I was Cher and
you were Cher,
Sonny?
I was Sonny, yeah.
All I was thinking about, do I look nice and all that? Do I look nice now?
50-50.
The odds from the judges were even lower, and though they did indeed look lovely, they also finished bottom.
We didn't do anything in the contest. We came nowhere. But we did a good show on stage. That 3 minutes was, I think, was a very good performance. We're very happy with it.
Oh, yes.
With choreography like this, they couldn't go wrong.
It's a very simple song, and I still think it could have gone somewhere. It's always been there in the top sort of 5 songs in Malta.
Also up there in the Maltese cheese charts was Helen's younger brother, Renato. Poor boy didn't know what he'd let himself in for.
I think the only time I watched it was when my sister took part with Joe. They sang a really nice song. I thought it was a lovely song. I would have thought it would have done better somehow, you know. And that's the only time I really watched it.
But he had a trick up his sleeve.
The 2 previous years before I went, they sang in Maltese. But, you know, the problem is, you know, all right, we're very proud of the Maltese language, but so very few people understand it. So when you're trying to sort of break into the international market, you have to use an international language. And of course, English first comes to mind, you know.
If things shouldn't go right, your stars are not twinkling so bright. Don't cry, for what's the use to be counting your blues?
Bad idea. Malta faltered once again.
I think I placed 11th or something like that, I can't remember. And we were so proud of the fact that we actually weren't in the last positions, you know. I came back like a hero, you know.
They took the next 15 years off to work on their game plan, but their hard work was in vain. More Maltese mediocrity, until their biggest ever hope entered the scene in 1998.
A lot of people said, oh, because she's a fat girl. And I mean, it's irrelevant. It's the voice you're listening to, after all. It's you have a good voice, which Chiara has, a nice song, and after all, it's a song contest, not a beauty contest.
I'm not the type of person that goes to a place and says, okay, I'm going to win this thing. But I did have faith in the song, and I did know that I could do it, so I just did my best.
Up there we seem to float,
Israel and Malta neck and neck, 166. It's down to the wire. There's only one more set of votes coming up.
At first I was relaxed, but then I was very nervous. I thought, am I going to win? So I was like, no one ever did this in Malta, and I was telling this to myself all the time. And I was thinking about what would happen if I would win the festival. When I came home, what would happen? A lot of dreams went through my mind.
10 points, the United Kingdom pushing it into second place. Who's going to get the 12?
And finally, 12 points from Macedonia goes to Croatia.
Israel have won it.
I coped very well, I must say. I was very relaxed, and I just got up and I was going to my dressing room. And then this man came up. I don't know who he was. I think it was someone from BBC, I think. And this man told me, you know, you were the real diva of the night. And that was it. I just went in my dressing room and I spent 2 hours crying.
But to the people of Malta, she was a hero.
The Maltese International Airport stopped for about 20 minutes. There were about 6,000 people at the airport waiting for me to come in. They were all cheering me, which was... I was terrified.
Ah, that's Malta for you. 12 appearances, ever hopeful, 75 points.
I saw a mouse! Where? There, on the stair. And his cumbersome wooden footwear made him easy to trap and kill. Ah, the Netherlands. Terribly flat, like a pizza, only without the tasty, cheesy topping. The sort of place where you can see for miles just by going like that.
Ah yes, Holland, land of clogs, tulips, windmills and great musical tradition. Okay, not that great. Still, the Dutch love of making sweet music with inanimate objects goes back a long way.
Ook hij kon niet gelukkig zijn, zo ver van haar vandaan. It's like that twinkling.
Although sometimes it's quite hard to see which is the inanimate object.
I see a face, a happy face.
Yes, there's been some very hairy moments in Dutch Eurovision history.
I was a part of the duo Malcolm McNeil, and then in '74 we joined the Eurovision Song Contest in Brighton. That was the year that ABBA won. That was a very good year.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, the 19th Eurovision Song Contest, coming to you from the Dome in Brighton.
I chose satin and it was salmon pink. I remember so well, the dresser was sweet. And she said, I hate to tell you, the bra shows, the pants show, everything shows. We'll whip those off. So I solemnly went on stage, knowing that I was going to be in front of 600 with not a stitch underneath.
Well, this really is a fantastic thought.
It's been there all my life, so it's my duty.
What with no pants and an outbreak of nits, it was very hard to concentrate.
We'll keep on burning till the end of time.
Nervous. Really, that's killing almost.
The Dutch had actually got off to a flying start at Eurovision, with Corrie Brokken winning the second ever contest in 1957.
Now I'm so much older and I think it's not so very important in one's life to win such a contest.
But the next year she earned just a single point, so it took a lot of Dutch courage for Teddy Scholten to come back and reclaim the prize in 1959. But apart from the shared honours in 1969 we saw earlier, subsequent entries fell as flat as Dutch pancakes with the judges. Still, the commentators liked it.
Cheers! And if it was a Eurovision infectious gaiety and bounce contest, that's the winner.
We didn't go to
win, it was more fun, you see, because I was excited to go away out of Holland and see other people, see other nationalities, and it was more exciting than nerve-wracking.
Sandra, in various guises, gave it her best shot on 2 other occasions but got nowhere. And the only other time the Eurovision crown has gone Dutch is in 1975.
It was like a dream. On that moment, everyone is pushing you and you have to go there and you have to go. It was like crazy, but nice.
Thank you for joining us. And here once again, Harry van Hoof conducts the orchestra for Teach-In.
Is uptight, try to sing a song that goes ding, ding it on. There will be no sorrow when you sing tomorrow and you walk along with you ding, ding, dong.
Maybe the older people remember how we looked. It was like from another planet. The boys. Me, I was more normal, but it was, in that time, it was very trendy.
They claim that you should sing Ding Ding a Dong every hour when you pick a flower, even when your lover is gone.
Still, if your lover has pissed off, then I guess a Ding Dang Dong would come in quite handy. That's the Netherlands, where the joint is always jumping. 42 appearances, 4 wins, 79 points.
Ah, Luxembourg. It twinned with itself by accident. And its motto, we've got a radio station. Surrounded on all sides by earth of different countries. Like the cuckoo, it lays its eggs in other birds' nests.
Are you from Luxembourg? No. Is that Portugal? No, je suis français.
No, je suis belge.
No. Are you from Luxembourg?
No, vengo de Colombia.
No, I come from Hong Kong.
Nee, ik kom van Nederland, Holland.
We're from Seattle, Washington, the USA.
Of course, Nana's not actually from Luxembourg either. Nor are Baccarat, or Plastic Bertrand, or Geraldine, or Vicky Leandros, or Anne-Marie David. But they've all represented it at Eurovision. I've heard of pulling in a ringer, but this is ridiculous. Yes, Luxembourg are the cheats of Europe. The rules don't actually say, though, that you have to be from the country you represent. And with just 999 square miles and a population of just 400,000, I suppose you can forgive them that. But not this. Or this. So if you did come from Luxembourg, you probably wouldn't admit it, would you? Anyway, back to the delightful Greek songstress.
In 1963, they asked me if I would like to participate in the Eurovision contest and to represent Luxembourg. Of course, they all believed that I was going to win. There is a Greek saying that God closes a small door to open a bigger one, and that was my case. And I think my song came number 7 or something.
But the principality without principles proved that crime does pay, and 2 wins in the early 60s were followed by consecutive crowns a decade later.
Qu'après toi, je ne pourrais plus vivre, non plus vivre qu'en souvenir de toi.
Victory for Vicky meant the 1973 contest in Luxembourg City was played to a captive audience at the mercy of international terrorists Black September.
You couldn't get anywhere near the hall at all for motorised vehicles and special forces and Uzis, machine guns, machine gun nests, tracker dogs, razor wire. You had to beat your way in. And when you got in, on the night, I'll never forget the floor manager saying to the audience, "Please do not stand up to applaud, or you may be shot by security forces."
Anne-Marie's win earned a sitting ovation and no one got hurt. Having exhausted Northern Europe, the Luxembourg talent scouts headed south in search of the exotic. And erotic.
Well, for me means yes sir I can boogie, yes sir I can dance, and yes sir I can boogie means also a little bit naughty.
Baccarat had already had a string of hits such as this before they trod the Eurovision stage. Hits that cynics might say were remarkably similar to Parlez-vous Français, their 1978 entry.
Of course they are a little bit similar.
But if familiarity doesn't breed contempt, it certainly spawns confusion.
We were Spanish, with a record company, American, with a contract in Germany, representing Luxembourg and singing in French. So it was a mix-up that they didn't understand anything.
Not long after Eurovision, Maria and Métis parted company, so now there are two Baccarats doing the rounds, as if one wasn't enough.
I know a narrow street that winters have forgotten, and the springtime from her jealousy does not let her blossoms bloom. But who cares, since I...
Nana's lost her marbles and come to London to get them back.
Maybe one day the marbles of Parthenon that are in the British Museum, they could come back to their own birthplace.
So Nana continues her campaign, and while they won again in '83, Luxembourg haven't even bothered to enter for the last 6 years. Past the duchy, that's Luxembourg. 38 appearances, winners 5 times, 85 points, and given up the ghost.
Well, couture has never been more haute than on the Eurovision stage. It just shows you what can be achieved, even on a tight budget, with little imagination, and the keys to the Doctor Who wardrobe room.
So, what they say about horizontal stripes adding a pound or two is true then. They didn't win, but they were inundated with job offers as Christmas decorations. More hosed than the London Fire Brigade.
Okay.
No, not okay at all, actually.
Boom bang a bang, a bunny bee, a bunny bar, ding ding a dong. It's songs like these that break down geographical borders and unite whole countries in the common language of laughter.
La 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 la.
First they came in their longboats, raping and pillaging. Then they came with their out-of-town superstores, selling, let's face it, affordable self-assembly furniture, even if we don't understand the names in the catalogues. Yes, at 5, it's the land of herrings and meatballs.
Won't you take me to your heaven, to your heart?
Sweden may be the current reigning Eurovision champions, but it took a long time and a lot of hard work to get it right.
April, dumma stillar, kan du lura vart du vill?
In the 60s, they experimented unsuccessfully with the jaunty whistle, but by the early 70s, a new prototype was in development in Stockholm. Two girls, one blonde, one dark, two boys might have something here. But the judges didn't think so. Maybe it was the plaster cast, maybe it was one beard too many, maybe the song was just shit. Back to the drawing board.
We had decided, I think, to try to do something with what then wasn't ABBA, but Björn, Benny, Frida and Agneta.
1 year later, two girls, one blonde, one dark, two boys. Just the one beard this time. But they didn't make it past the qualifying heats. It could have been the name.
People were constantly referring to us, and they had to refer to us as something. And to say Björn Benny every time you refer to a group like that is impossible. Then we had a competition, I remember, in a Swedish evening paper. Or what should they be called? And something like 80% said ABBA. There is a fish cannery in Sweden called ABBA, which is the biggest one, really. All the herrings we get from them. And we had to ask them, and yes, they said, it's fine as long as you don't dabble in fish.
So, one fish-free year later, same band, same place, new name. This time, success, and the Eurovision stage in England's glamorous Brighton beckoned.
We traveled out there and we had a whole country behind us and all the hopes of the country on our shoulders.
But due to IRA bomb threats, the most historic Eurovision win of all time almost didn't happen.
I remember that my bedroom was between the Irish and who else was fighting at that time. And I thought, this is going to be, I'm there. I'm a sitting duck for this. Incidentally, I also had the most enormous and very fluffy and very molting feather boa. And every time I moved, I left a trail of feathers around. I thought, well, they'd always know how to kill me.
But using cunning camouflage, ABBA dodged the terrorist threats, and the show did go on.
I didn't dare think that this could win, and I certainly never did when we were there. There was, contenders, difficult ones.
I feel like I win when I lose. Waterloo, I was defeated, you won the war. Waterloo, promise you'll love me forevermore.
Benny said that it was about the most exciting thing in his life. To watch those 12 points come in, and then realizing, I think there were 3 countries left, or 4 or something, and it was already, we had enough.
Waterloo.
I remember, it went through my mind. This means, overnight, this means something spectacular. The whole world is suddenly open for us.
And that indeed was the start of the big time for ABBA. But while they spent the next 10 years scaling the dizzy heights of success, Sweden's Eurovision career was left to plumb the murky depths. Until this. But although it won, it also managed to flush Swedish street cred straight down the pan.
It may be not the worst song, it may just be the golden boots that they wore on the night. I mean, that was shocking in its own right.
We were very well prepared, extremely well. We knew it, the song and the dance and the singing. In our sleep backwards. We had rehearsed it, forever and ever. So no, I wasn't nervous about the performance itself.
You'll be disappointed to learn that Rick and his brothers have since disbanded.
Time moves on. We were basically a boys band, or like all the boys band now, dancing and singing. We're not boys anymore.
Regrettably, that wasn't the end of choreographic crime by Swedish winners.
I enjoyed having the dancers with me to even underline the power in the song.
But Carola's victory was anything but clear-cut, which caused much wailing and gnashing of teeth in the French camp.
Dis-moi au nom de quelle nation tu lèves le ton dans ma maison. Ne gémis pas comme un violon sans partition. C'est une leçon.
France, 12 points.
France, 12 points.
It's a draw.
France, 12 points.
It's a draw. 146 points each.
Adesso dice.
This time, 1991, the Eurovision law was to count the 12s and to count the 10s.
Sweden have won it.
Allora,
Sweden have had more top votes. That's 12 votes.
For me, it was rubbish anyway, and it was funny for me, but not really. I have no interest.
It's always something to remember and even to talk to your grandchildren about, so I'm very happy and proud.
Sweden, the rock and roll mop years. 39 appearances, winners 4 times, 93 points.
If only the bloke who designed the bread had got together with the bloke who designed the bag. Ah, France, where you can have a lovely meal, a passable bottle of wine for a fraction of what you'd pay for plonk over here. If only it weren't so French.
French conductor Michel Le Petit mounts the rostrum and leads the orchestra for French singing star Mireille Matton.
Ah ouais, la belle France. When they're not burning sheep or banning beef, the French have found fame in a number of quarters. There's world domination on and off the football field, outstanding achievement in martial arts, and then there's mime. But who remembers Eurovision?
I love the French ones, and I can't remember even their names.
Nous avons pour aimer.
For the benefit of Katie and anyone else who's forgotten, here's a couple of their early winners. Jacqueline Boyer may not be a household name here, but over there she's inspired a whole generation of young French hopefuls. Boyer's win meant bathrooms across the country were filled with aspiring divas, among them a future winner.
By my parents, there were a lot of mirrors with the music of Jacqueline Boyer.
Séverine did indeed go on to win the Eurovision Song Contest, but France's most famous winner represented Monaco rather than her homeland.
It was not a special problem, because Monaco is very, very close to France. The people said, okay, so we asked Séverine to sing for Monaco.
Monaco 26, total 101.
101 Punkte für Monaco.
At the moment where I win the Grand Prix, I was totally in my dream, and I don't realize what happens to me. Very romantic.
It was rather less romantic for a young French girl representing her country in 1977.
I was the only. I had nothing. No suite in the hotel for the journalists, photographs, no champagne, no petit four, nothing. I have nothing.
Comme un enfant aux yeux de lumière qui voit passer au loin les oiseaux, comme l'oiseau bleu sur
The crippling lack of Petit Four didn't inhibit her performance, but the pressure was on.
Everybody said, you must win, because you're representing France. And at this time, in 77, Eurovision was very important in France. I don't know if you saw the video. Look to my hands, because I... You know?
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Eurovision Song Contest for 1977 is France.
I cry, and then poof.
And to receive her award, Marie-Myriam.
Our cameraman, he was shooting me going from the back to the stage. He doesn't see two stairs, so he poof. And he has the camera here, you know, and he has a big blue eye. And I said, I stopped crying. And I said, please, ready, give me some eyes, because he has a... And everybody was waiting for me.
Is she with us? I can imagine the scene backstage now. Someone rushing to find the winning artist. Where is she? Someone bought her a bottle of champagne. Is that what it is? Feet running up the stairs, along the back. There she is.
And that was the last time France won. There was a brief flicker of hope in 1979 when Anne-Marie David tried to emulate her earlier win for Luxembourg, but her efforts proved in vain and she was last seen heading for the hills.
She was on the mountains and she has so sheeps. Bah.
Can you smell something burning? Voila, France. 43 appearances, winners 5 times, 101 points.
Where? That's not Europe. I'm off on a European holiday. I'm on my way to... No. I think you'll find that's the Middle East. Really? Well, if you insist.
I like it when a warm country wins.
OK, it's not strictly Europe, but it beats freezing your nuts off in some snowbound Scandinavian tundra. Late developers in the Eurovision stakes, Israel got off to an inauspicious start with efforts like these. Israel's answer to the Ramones. Oi, time for some glamour already. These three lovelies met whilst doing national service in the Israeli army. Suppose it beats shitting yourself in some Lebanese foxhole. She's saying she liked the shoes.
Here come Alpha Beta. Simple.
1978, Israel's year.
Trousers, the girls all in white. And this is a good, vivacious song for Israel. Might do very well.
They stormed it.
We were very, very small country concerning the international scene. And I was like the first one that really opened that village doors. And that's something that I'm very proud of. I love you in Hebrew it's ani ohev otach. With the B language it's abani bi or boebev or botabach. And it's not I want to be, how you say it? I want to be?
A polar bear.
A polar bear. That's really funny.
The world was watching, but while most countries danced along in time to Itzar's Afro, some Arab nations decided it was an opportune moment for a commercial break.
شركة مصانع الألومنيوم والنحاس الكويتية صناعة الأواني المنزلية هو اختصاصنا، ومهما كانت الوليمة دجاجة صغيرة، خروفا أو حتى جملا، فقد صنعنا لها القدر المناسب.
12 points.
Israel, 12 points. Israel, 12 points.
When they came back to find Israel in the lead, it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
They've lost the group. Maybe
But for the benefit of those Arab viewers still on the edge of their seats,
that's them. Izhar Cohen and Alpha Beta, the winners of the 23rd Eurovision Song Contest for Israel.
That was like the first step that we did. And I'm very proud that I made it. This is something that got into the short Israeli history.
it wasn't long before the second step was taken. Milk and Honey won the contest on home ground just a year later.
It's an optimistic song, simple, optimistic song that goes and grows and grows, vocally and instrumentally, and grows in the heart, I think.
Hallelujah, im hashir. Hallelujah, al yom sheme'ir.
Many people went to Rabin Square and they jumped to the water. And I was very happy to know that people will do such a thing on my behalf. I mean, because of the winning. That this song gave many people of Israel a lot of joy.
But the euphoria was short-lived, and the children of Israel were to spend another 20 years in the wilderness before they became the chosen people once again. Hard to believe the sex-changed superstar was once a hairy-ass bloke.
I remember Down International with what can only be described as mixed feelings, because she left me standing like an Egypt on the stage, along with Ulrika and everybody else, while she changed into another frock. Now, you might have thought that she would have changed before the result, but she waited for the result to be announced before he, she, or it changed into another frock. So we're all standing around like lemons, but again, who cares?
Viva Victoria, Afrodita. Viva la diva, viva Victoria, Cleopatra.
Her momentous victory drew inevitable comparisons with another Dana's triumph some years earlier. Ah, isn't she lovely?
It's a fascinating comparison between Dana and Dana International.
I'm very proud that this kind of artists represent Israel. It was like a symbol of freedom.
But not everyone was as pleased. Conservative elements in Israel were infuriated by the diva's unholy past, and this led to fears for her life.
In Jerusalem this year, it was her job to hand the trophy across to the winner. And she was so busy, fooling around, that she fell over. Now, as soon as she fell over, Mossad, or the Israeli security, or whoever was in charge, thought she'd been shot. So everybody swarmed around her, flung themselves upon her in case she'd be shot again. And the poor winner, the Swedish girl, never actually got the award at all.
Shalom, that's Israel, 22 appearances, winners 3 times, 119 points.
An Israeli woman who used to be a man winning the Eurovision Song Contest? What are the chances of that happening, eh? Or this, come to that.
This fantastic interval entertainment was served up in 1963 by the BBC. Once again, licence payers getting value for their money.
allowing rabies to run rife amongst our loved ones. But by God, can the home of the Beatles, the Wombles and Bonnie Tyler make music?
So near and yet so far, a familiar tale for us Brits. But it's not just football where we've had to swallow our pride.
I didn't win. On 2 occasions I performed there and didn't win. Congratulations came really close. I think if Ireland and if Yugoslavia had given me just 1 vote each, I would have won by 1 vote instead of losing by 1.
Congratulations, Cliff. Bit premature. Still, when you've been celibate all that time, not surprising.
Now, on with the voting.
I locked myself in the toilet. And it wasn't until it was over that I heard on the door, and my manager said I hate to say it, you lost. It came second. So I put on a brave face then, but no one had to sort of see me suffer.
I wanted Cliff to win so much, and I was trying not to show it. And inevitably I did. Being Latin, I'm exuberant, yes, and I was biased.
Power to the boys who played rock and roll.
In 1973, Cliff managed power to all his friends except the ones on the Norwegian and Dutch juries, and lost again.
Power to all our friends.
And that's not the only UK entry to have promised much but failed to deliver. All in all, we Brits have been pipped at that final post a record 15 times. And what Ron Atkinson was doing on drums, no one's sure. However, a bevy of unsuccessful blonde beauties at least did something to keep that upper lip stiff.
Take off your coat and come inside. Long, long live life.
Olivia Newton-John, though, being famous and all that, at least got sponsorship from Brentford Nylons. Oh, just think of the static.
I remember saying to all who would listen, this is the end, I said, of Olivia Newton-John. She'll never recover from this. 4th in the Eurovision Song Contest. And within a couple of months, she'd gone to Hollywood and become a huge star.
But though we've made our name with near misses, let's not forget the good times. There have been some famous victories too. The last was Katrina and the Waves in 1997. And the first was 67. Sandy, Now What Did I Do With My Shoes? Sure.
Wo ist das Handmikrofon? Sandy, hier ist es schon. Rosa, Mini, Sandy Shaw. Und Puppet on a String.
I wonder if one day that you say that you care. If you say you love me madly, I'd gladly be there like a puppet on a string.
This was the start of our glory years. Oh, maybe glory's a bit strong.
One thing I must say before I go. I love you.
I love you.
You know, I'll be thinking of you in most everything I do.
It just had a little bit of magic. The
Oh,
song.
with the dance was a lot of
the
magic
dance,
as
we
well.
brought in a guy called Guy Lookman, and he came down and he said, right, I'm going to show you what you're going to do. And I remember him standing there and doing it, and we all just looked at him and said, no, we can't possibly do that. But anyway, we did it.
Your kisses for me, sing all your kisses for me. Bye-bye, baby, bye-bye.
People say you're the forerunners for the forerunners for the river dance because we've done the dance, you know.
Michael Flatley, Eat Your Heart Out.
Hang on, baby, hang on.
Save Your Kisses for Me, though, turned out to be the most successful Eurovision song of all time. And more than 20 years on, the band are still together and still reaping the rewards.
We work for Butlins. We open bingos. We do bingo halls, which is great because they are lovely people. We have a ball there.
Just when you think it's safe, we may turn up.
And so to our next victory, and who could forget it?
Who won? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, yeah. With a skirt, huh? Bucks Fizzy. Ridiculous song. Do a lot of twirling and dancing. Tear your frocks off at the end. Had to win. The Irish, of course, maintained that one of the girls wasn't wearing any knickers, which is very Irish.
Even now, there are so many people that I meet and they say, oh, we loved Bucks Fizz when we were young. I was Jay and my friend was Cheryl and we had the skirts made. So many kids, so many little girls, and so I think some little boys as well, had the skirts made with the Velcro rip-off.
I think we actually more like reinvented Velcro after that.
But while the judges were making their minds up, the band was feeling the pain.
I was absolutely 100% sure we were going to walk it. And on the night of when the voting was going on, I was really mixed up about it, wasn't I? I thought, we're not going to get this. And when the first vote we got was 3 points, my stomach just went down. I thought, we ain't got it.
And the winner is Bucks Fizz with Making Your Mind Up, Andy Hill.
I said, Germany must have won. All the cameras are there. And you went, no, we've got it. We've won. And you started jumping up and down. And I was going, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. and I think that they thought he was wrong as well, because actually Terry Wogan said, they've done it. Bucks Fizz have done it. You could. I'm filling up.
All hell broke loose around us. There's the photographers all rushing around. It was something I wasn't particularly prepared for. I never realised that how big the press and the publicity would be for winning this competition.
Victory brought fame and fortune, but they eventually got bored and decided to shed their velour in favour of something a little shinier. But at least Bucks Fizz went on to have a string of hits, unlike this bunch of Euro misfits whose career sank like very heavy stones. The bad old days, something of an understatement. And in case you haven't noticed, the lovely in the gold boots is our Cheryl.
It is never road that leads me home. It is never day I'm on my own. But when I feel
there are no words.
And all alone, I think of you. Yes, I do. A message to your heart. Walk on by till you hear the voice.
Body of Baywatch, voice of Crime Watch. And there, but for the grace of God, goes the UK. 42 appearances, 5 wins, 127 points.
Our voyage around the crazy continent of song that we call Eurovision is almost over. And so, as our musical Eurostar slows down from the 800 miles an hour it did through France to the 12 feet per minute as it passes through Sevenoaks, let's recap. Or as the aptly named Europe once said, it's the final countdown!
Heidi High, it's the horny Swiss at 10. How's your father, Costa Brava at 9, it's Spain. Malta, Valletta 8, the Never. At 7, Looking Gooder, the Netherlands. Can you sing? 6 passports on offer from Luxembourg. Yabba Abba Do, it's Sweden at 5. And at 4, La Belle France, Char Grill Glam, anyone? Hallelujah, it's the Children of Israel at 3. And runners-up, as usual, us.
I'm drinking Guinness outside a bar filled with shamrocks and leprechauns listening to Danny Boy. Where else could I be? That's right, North London. I'm here to celebrate the musical legacy of the undisputed kings of Eurovision.
When are we going to realise that the Eurovision Song Contest is in fact just a cruel joke the whole of Europe is playing on Ireland? Honestly, the whole of Europe's going, we're not hosting that box of shit. Give it to Ireland again, they'll take it. Well done, you won again.
I am continually amazed at the Irish with their extraordinary cynicism. Their mixture of cynicism and sentimentality take it so seriously.
Play the f***ing note.
First one.
No, not the f***ing first one!
I was aware that it was extremely important for Ireland.
They should realise how terrible and stupid it is.
One day, while I was out walking,
Now, who's this fine fella?
In the midst of a crowd, here I thought was a chance of a lifetime, the chance of a lifetime with you.
But Jesus, it's Barry's dad.
Oh, we were very proud of my dad. I remember him singing in the Eurovision Song Contest, and the house was full and everybody was sort of jumping on. Through the halfway, right to the halfway stage, he was leading, and we all thought he was going to win it, you know.
all I want is a chance of a lifetime.
But he didn't.
The chance of a lifetime with you.
Father was a very sort of level-headed guy. He just knew that, you know, you can't win everything. And he had done well that year, so he was a little disappointed, yeah.
Yes, in the 1960s, Ireland were Eurovision lightweights. But by 1970, there was something stirring in the heart of Ulster, though no one seemed to care much.
When we left, we were waved goodbye by 2 cleaning ladies and a porter at the airport.
Snowdrops and daffodils, butterflies and bees.
At that stage, Ireland had never won. We weren't even considered in the running.
Everybody had been boom bang a banging and diggy loo diggy laying and congratulating and all that, the usual stuff. And she came up with a little song called All Kinds of Everything.
Remind me of you.
The big question was, who were these all kinds of everything reminding her of?
I was watching Julio Iglesias with the whole Spanish team, and he was very handsome.
All kinds of everything. Remind me of you.
And he walked as though he owned the entire world, not just the building. And all the Spanish team after him, putting Vote Spain stickers on everything. I mean, if you didn't move, you got a Vote Spain sticker on you.
But it was Julio who eventually came unstuck. He came fourth while 18-year-old Dana won.
That was the beginning of the Irish economic revival. Ireland pulled itself together, having won the Eurovision, and went on to greatness. And it owes it all to Dana.
But the last rites had to be administered to some subsequent entries.
That's what friends are for. Ladies and gentlemen of the whole wide world.
I got a ferocious cold, and I got a terrible congestion in my chest, and I literally could not sing. He had to sing the song.
If that man needs a helping hand, help him in from the rain. So remember.
I was terrified to move because we were wearing platforms which were about that high.
To make us look the same height.
Netherlands, 12 points. Ireland, 3 points.
But it was yards rather than inches that separated them from the winners. They finished 9th, but they took it well.
I was disappointed also in the fact that the one that won it was called Ding a Dong, and I thought it was a load of nonsense, but there you are.
It's nice to be in love again. That old familiar feeling when
They brushed off their disappointment, and 2 years later they were back, +2.
stand still, your heart is free.
This time it looked more promising.
With about 4 or 5 countries to go, we were leading, and then it came to a few countries that Ireland were having a fishery war with. And from then on, we were SAG.
Yep, it got worse. Ireland may be kings of Eurovision, but occasionally you'll find a rogue jester at the court of Europap. I beg to differ. But in 1980, Ireland's blushes were spurred by the coming of a saviour.
Johnny.
Johnny Logan, Mr. Eurovision.
Reaching out for you, but you aren't near. What's another year?
He charmed the judges, enchanted the audience, and soaked up the pressure. Still, what's another beer? A great victory, though, when you look at what came second, it puts it in perspective.
Und der Held, der muss stark sein und kämpfen für das Recht. Doch oft ist ihm vor Lampenfieber schlecht.
Because you can tell it's a shit thing to win, simply by the fact that we've won it 7 times and nobody's ever complained.
For the last time, hold me now.
Johnny won again in '87 and wrote Linda Martin's winner 5 years later, and 3 victorious but boring ballads in the '90s with interval entertainment from the so-called Lord of the Dance ensured Ireland remain kings of the Spangles and Fleurs. So, Irish eyes are smiling. 34 appearances, winners 7 times, 154 points.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, adios, au revoir, ciao baby, shalom.
I wonder how many of you were thinking as I was, watching the show, of the miracle which has carried this program across seas and mountains and forests, of what it has all meant in terms of human skill, ingenuity and inventiveness.
Eurovision, 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 Eurovision.